turn it on. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Guilford College. My name is Wes Daniels, and I am the William R. Rogers Director of Friends Center and Quaker Studies. And we're here to celebrate and remember William R. Rogers. We have, for this sort of first part, we have invited a number of friends and colleagues of Bill's to share stories and memories with us. So that's what we're going to be doing, and then I'll come up and close this out, and then we'll take a little break, and then we're going to have a meeting for worship, and then after that, I think we're going to head over to Wednesday. So that's kind of where we're headed for the day. But before we begin, I'd like for us to join together in a moment of silence. Thank you, friends.
Good afternoon. I am Brenda Esch, class of 1983, which someone just pointed out to me was 40 years ago. Just yesterday, I was in this room with Bill Rogers, and there was a big globe involved somewhere in the middle there. I am so privileged this afternoon to read to you some remarks from Ken Schwab, who was our Dean of Students here at Guilford, starting in 1970 and through the 80s, I believe. He then became president of Centenary College of Louisiana and then president again of the Middle Tennessee School of Anesthesia. I regret not being with you in person today as we remember a most remarkable man, Bill Rogers. I am honored to have this opportunity to share just a few of my thoughts concerning my love and respect for Bill. It was a blessing for me to be with Bev and the family during the earlier service on July 29. It was somewhat of a pilgrimage for me as I left my home in Nashville for the trip to Greensboro. Crossing the miles took me back in my memory to the beginning of my career in higher education here at Guilford in 1970. I was reminded of the words of the book Pilgrim Heart. We measure our lives year by year, from birthday to birthday, from childhood to youth to adulthood to old age. But our memories do not store away years or months or even weeks or days. They catch images or scenes or snatches of conversation. Maybe only moments when we receive a brief glimpse of our place in it all. Bill Rogers was a significant source of inspiration for me throughout my life, and the memories came flooding back as I approached the campus. He was my president, my colleague, my mentor, and my friend. I can vividly remember his arrival on the campus in 1980 with his beautiful family. He and Bev brought renewed energy and dynamic leadership to Guilford. As a community, we were eager to get to know this distinguished chair of religion and psychology at Harvard University. Little did I know of the impact he would have on me and how his influence would shape my approach to serving as a college president. It was Bill's personality and leadership style that I saw as ideal for a college president and hoped to emulate. We rejoice in his witness to us as a leader for this campus. His legacy will forever be a significant part of the future success of Guilford. Bill and Bev have been devoted partners in their efforts to advance this college through the years. They have helped to build a strong college, but a college is more than buildings, gardens, and programs. The sustaining influence of their leadership will be enjoyed by current students and future generations. For buildings decay, organizations change, but generations of students go on to carry the memory of this legacy with them in their lives. That same legacy is carried on in the lives of individuals like me, who have been forever changed and encouraged by the example of Bill Rogers. It was always my hope that I would be able to encourage those I met to carry on this legacy of love and respect for others. I will conclude by sharing key lessons that have been important for my life that I learned from Bill. He developed in me a respect for the beauty of the Quaker faith and its commitment to peace and justice. He helped me understand that seeking consensus is a journey worth pursuing on the campus and a way to build bridges between college constituencies. Bill showed me that using silence can help us prayerfully center a meeting. It was useful for me even as I led campuses of different faiths. He shared a firm conviction that there is that of God in each of us, even if it seems hard to find at times. He taught me that campus climate must always be student-centered, with each individual student as the primary focus. He demonstrated that discipline and hard work are critical to success on campus. Bill's effort was always evident to me each time we met late in the afternoon for our weekly appointment. We were often exhausted and would walk the campus, interacting with students, which always renewed and energized us both. Bill encouraged me to maintain a sense of humor. He demonstrated his humor when he shared stories of his beloved Maine. He would conjure up the Maine accent as he regaled us with the tales. Even as he spoke at my inauguration, he told the funny story of the man who stopped to tie his shoe to make sure he could outrun his companion and avoid being eaten by the bear. I think he may have been trying to warn me of the challenges of taking on the presidential role. I have been blessed to know Bill Rogers and his lovely family. I know the world is a better place as a result of his contributions. Today we remember a wise and loving friend whose legacy will live on in our hearts. His legacy is important for us to uphold and celebrate. I will miss you, my mentor and dear friend. I say goodbye with deepest love and respect. Ken Schwab.
I first knew Bill Rogers by reputation before coming to Guilford. I was at Earlham for several years, arriving in 1972, shortly after Bill had left for Harvard, and his reputation is still deep on that campus. But I never met him. So when I heard about the Bill Rogers who kept winning the Boston Marathon, I thought it was our Bill Rogers. It was not. He was a marathon man of a different sort. The first time I met Bill in person was during a Friends Association for Higher Education conference here at Guilford in 1981. And at the time I was considering leaving Guilford to pursue a PhD. Knowing Bill's extensive knowledge of higher education, I met him on the front steps of Founders Hall during the conference and said, I'm thinking about doing a PhD in American religious history. Where might you recommend? He asked me just a couple of questions about what I was interested in and nailed Temple University, which is where I ended up going, and it was exactly the right place. That's how well he knew that world. Then I got a call from Bill in 1990 inviting me to come and start the first official Office of Campus Ministry under Friends Center. And that's when I learned about his pivotal role in establishing Friends Center in 1982. Bill had summoned Judith Weller Harvey from her work in working with campus programs for ministers in the yearly meeting to work with alumni, faculty, trustees to start a center that would help reconnect the college with the wider Quaker world. And when I began traveling myself in the North Carolina Quaker world, I realized how deeply invested he was in that. I was down at a little rural meeting in out back Randolph County, Holly Spring, and saw a picture of the gathering of Holly Spring after a meeting for worship years before, and there in the front were Bill and Bev. They traveled widely around the yearly meeting, trying to reconnect the college with that society of friends very effectively. I don't think it was just for the potlucks that they often offered. Bev says that was her reason for going. But after helping establish that reconnection with the wider Quaker community that had waned a bit in the political activism and cultural changes of the 1960s and 70s, Bill then worked with Friends Center to establish that Office of Campus Ministry, and later on, the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program. The Campus Ministry Program flourished under Bill's presidency, and he was one of the champions of the concordance caper that ran in the Campus Ministry newsletter every other week. One of the features was taking reference to scripture out of the popular media, and if you pay attention to the sports pages or popular music, there are often references to scripture. Feet of clay, David versus Goliath. And we would run something like that and ask, where is that found in scripture? And Bill, before Google, was able to nail it almost every week, and was delighted in that, attended the weekly campus ministry meetings for worship, and was fully invested in that. And out of that campus ministry program, developed a number of spiritual leaders out and about. On Facebook recently, I was seeing Sarah Hennessy, now a sister of the Franciscan Order of Perpetual Adoration, a nationally known nun who graduated from our Quaker Leadership Scholars Program, a Lutheran minister in Chattanooga, an Episcopal priest in Kentucky, all nurtured through that campus ministry program that Bill was such an influential part of. And then, of course, there's the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program that began in 1992. And that, again, was a program that Bill was deeply invested in and felt would have an impact on providing another generation of young leaders for the Society of Friends. And that also has borne fruit. This weekend, I'm mercifully skipping out on a board meeting up in Philadelphia of the Friends Publishing Corporation, publishes Friends Journal. A fifth of that board are recent graduates of Guilford College in the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program. Dina Zaru, Patrick McGrail Peasley, and Abe Kenmore, who's the recording clerk for that board. We're probably familiar with the innovative work of Christina Repoli, another graduate of the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program, who started the Quaker Voluntary Service Program, now a nationally known program that our own Liz Nicholson was in the first class of, and is now the director of QLSP. There have been so many other contributions from graduates of that program. John Watts, who began the Quaker YouTube channel, Quaker Speak, and has now started his own program of developing podcasts to carry the Quaker message more broadly. So many graduates of that program have indeed gone on to be significant leaders in the Religious Society Friends and more broadly. They all model what I believe was one of the great legacies of Bill Rogers, and that was his servant leadership. A great example of that was when he and Bev had gathered the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program in their home, not Ragsdale, but in the latter years of his presidency when they had a home near a lake here in Greensboro. And before the supper, some of the students, having heard Bev say there's a pair of nesting eagles down by the lake, being Guilford students, oblivious to the fact it was muddy down there, wandered down there and tracked their red muddy boots back into the house across the white carpet of their house. As Wade Tomlinson sat down in his chair with his muddy boots, Bill just very quietly went to the kitchen, got a wet cloth, and knelt in front of Wade and wiped off his boots without a word said, but a great image of servant leadership and essentially the Last Supper. Fortunately, it was not QLSP's last supper at the Robinson House. Towards the end of Bill's life, as many of us visited with him out at Wellspring, he, as many of us probably would in your late 80s, facing your 90s and the sunset of one's life, was wondering about his legacy. And we certainly assured him that he had a deep and lasting legacy, which I think is really characterized by that servant leadership and the impact he has had for these various programs he created under his presidency. Another legacy of his was the image and the example he gave to all those around him, including his administrative secretary, Charlotte Straney, who witnessed that servant leadership and his quiet Quakerism and wanted to assure that that maintained a legacy on this campus, and quietly, as an administrative secretary, endowed the William R. Rogers Directorship of Friends Center and Quaker Studies. And today, the current holder of that title, Wes Daniels, along with his co-editor, Rhiannon Grant, has published probably the most significant recent work in Quaker scholarship, The Quaker World, which for the first time has gathered voices from the Quaker world from all over the Quaker world. So that legacy continues. The last thing I want to share about that legacy is 4 days before his death, Gary York, class of '64, and I visited with him in Wellspring. And Gary asked Bill, "Why did you leave Harvard for Guilford?" And Bill said, "I loved Harvard. Harvard was wonderful. I enjoyed the community there, but I missed the interaction with students and their real life outside of the classroom." And I think that has been manifest in all of the examples of his servant leadership, his legacy through Friends Center, campus ministry, the Quaker Leadership Scholars Program, and those hundreds and now thousands of students who learned from his example and have gone on to be a light in the world.
Good afternoon. I'm Bernie Davis. I taught culture anthropology and peace and conflict studies at Guilford College from 1982 to 2011. My contact with Bill both predates and postdates his time as president at Guilford. I first met Bill and Bev when I was teaching at Earlham College in the 1970s. Bill was teaching at Harvard and had returned on a study leave to Earlham College where he had previously taught. During that time, I not only got to know Bill and Bev a bit, but also learned how much he was loved and deeply respected and revered by the faculty at Earlham. Also learned about our common interest in liberal arts education, our common experience at Kalamazoo College as undergraduates, though not at the same time. And all of that played a significant role in my coming to Guilford a few years later after he became president. One observation I want to make about the set of speakers that will be coming up here today is that Bill was such a multi-talented, Renaissance person that it takes a whole team of us to even begin to reflect on his many contributions to Guilford College and the community. And even then, it feels as though we can only scratch the surface. To be able to get at the kind of way in which he integrated his mind, body, and spirit in his personal and professional life. He had an understanding of liberal arts. It's not just a collection of individual, desperate subjects, but a holistic approach to understanding the world and living a rich and fulfilling life. I'm grateful for so many of Bill's contributions to the values-based liberal arts education. And I hope that I have a moment to touch briefly on three of those. One was his ability to be fully present with others. Second, his contribution to deepening the liberal arts through interdisciplinary studies. And third, his engagement with the wider community. Bill always seemed fully present and listening, deeply listening, with full attention and respect in all interactions that I watched in him. And I think that was a central characteristic of his collaborative leadership style. Because he truly listened and cared about what each of us was doing, it really helped him articulate Guilford College's distinctive contributions to higher education to those outside the college, as well as help inspire and motivate those of us at Guilford to get to learn from each other in a significant way. He was first and foremost a colleague with staff, faculty, and students to promote our actualizing of our full potential, both as individuals and collectively. Bill's curiosity and general interest in disciplines beyond his own personal focus no doubt contributed to his support of interdisciplinary studies at the college and ways the community learned from each other. Bill both modeled and encouraged exploration beyond the confines of our specialized academic disciplines. His involvement in Greensboro and the wider community no doubt contributed to the very positive town-gown relationship that existed in Greensboro with the college, something I was kind of surprised at when I first arrived here. Bill was personally involved in community service organizations, served on boards, participated in choral groups beyond the college. Under his leadership, Guilford College students invested hundreds of hours of community service in internship work that was a win-win situation for the college and the students. The students gained valuable expertise, built networks, the community benefited from their service. I had personal experience with Bill in two of those activities beyond the college. One was during my time with peace and conflict studies during the height of the nuclear arms race buildup. We started a speakers bureau to provide free speakers to community organizations to provide a variety of perspectives on the topic seeking security in the nuclear age. Bill not only strongly supported our setting up that program, but he was one of the speakers in it. As I recall, one of his topics was that of psychic numbing and how that leads to denial of looking at important issues that we're facing. After his retirement, I continued to have the chance to see Bill's work in the broader community through the work we did together to support Quaker values through lobbying and advocacy work through Friends Committee on National Legislation. So together, I worked with Bill in having visits with, at that time, Representative Howard Cole, along with other Quakers working with FCNL, Friends Committee on National Legislation, and also served with him on the Policy Committee of FCNL, which meant several trips to Washington, D.C. together, which again, what a wonderful and delightful time to spend time driving for several hours together in a car with nothing to do but have wonderful conversation with Bill. I would be remiss if I failed to recognize Beverly's contributions to Bill's role as college president, promoting community activities, hosting events such as holiday celebrations, adding a measure of humor and good cheer to all of these gatherings, helping promote fun activities, again, build community and cause the community to get to know those outside their own specialized areas. I want to note in closing, I think an inscription that's on the mantle of the fireplace back in the dining hall at Earlham College, where I first met Bill, I think represents well Bill's life and impact in the lives of those of us who knew him. The inscription says, "They gathered sticks and kindled a fire and left it burning." I wish to express my very deep gratitude for the warmth, the light, and the inspiration shared by Bill and Bill throughout their lives.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Hammond. I'm an alumnus from the class of 1981 and the founding director and curator of the Guilford College Art Gallery and a former adjunct member of the art faculty. Bill Rogers had a profound impact on my life, and I would like to share a little bit today about his artistic side and his remarkable vision of making fine art accessible to all students and a vital component of the liberal arts education at Guilford College. As an art student, I held a work study position in the art department and helped to organize exhibits in Founders Hall. My senior year, I interned in what was then known as the development office. I wrote a proposal for the college to build a new art museum, which I presented to President Bill Rogers, hoping he would like the idea and I would have a job when I graduated. While that didn't happen as quickly as I had hoped, I like to think that my proposal planted a seed in his mind. Later, during the press campaign, potential donations of art from the Weller and Julian families helped to bring this idea to fruition. At this point, I would like to introduce my husband, Professor of Art Emeritus Roy Nyberg, to share his memories of Bill, and especially the trip he took with Bill and Judith Weller Harvey to view the art collection assembled by Judith's parents, Alan and Rachel Weller. As a side note, I want to say that Bill married me and Roy, and he and Beverly counseled us skillfully before we made our vows to one another, and we were 38 years and going strong.
Pleased to honor a very special person, Bill Rogers, today. Bill was a true creative spirit and a visionary leader and educator. He was focused on Guilford College educating, as Vernon Davis mentioned, the whole person, where lives would be enriched through encountering a array of disciplines. Bill showed heartfelt interest and support for our faculty, staff, and students, and the college flourished during his presidency. Bill, Judy, and I drove from Greensboro to Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, in probably early to mid-80s, where Ellen Weller was Dean of the College of Fine and Applied Arts and Director Emeritus of the Cranon Art Museum at the University of Illinois. It was nearly a 12-hour trip, so we had lots of time to talk about the possibilities of what this gift might mean for the college. A catalog of Weller's art collection had previously circulated among several members of the college. During a 1981 Guilford Symposium on Business and the Arts, the then director of the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh pooh-poohed the significance of the Weller collection, announcing that it was not worth pursuing. A few of us disagreed strongly. Bill immediately recognized the artistic, historical, psychological, scientific, and social impact such a collection could have on our community. By the way, around meal times, Judy may remember this, we would also discuss where we might stop to eat. I favor the various colorful dives and diners along the route. Bill and Judy probably more wisely chose the more sensible looking restaurants. I was always outvoted. Indeed, once the art gallery was established, my teaching benefited greatly by having such a multicultural resource for students studying all manner of style and technique and effectively portraying subject and content in visual art. I held numerous classes in the art gallery spaces where students could observe, draw, and in some cases handle the primary source material to deepen their knowledge and perception. Also, I wanted to mention that Bill and Bev are seemingly always present at our art department and art gallery events, lending their enthusiasm and support. Thank you, Bill and Bev.
I'm not quite done yet. President Rogers promoted this concept of art being openly accessible to students in the centralized Guilford Library and was heavily involved in the design of the proposed facility. In January 1990, Bill wrote an article published in the Greensboro News and Record titled Art and Books Together, Why Not? Exploring the Interconnectedness of Being at Guilford College. In it, he described the beautifully renovated and expanded library as a large, dramatic space, vaulting up several stories, opening onto 8 elegant rooms for art exhibition, where the teaching art collection of the college will be displayed. He continued, and I quote, "We are convinced that the central repository of resources supporting the academic program of a liberal arts college should include both visual and literary materials. It is the place where scholars and students interact daily, the crossroads, as it were, of the entire campus. It is a place where the stimulation of the mind is enriched by ideas and new insight. It should stimulate visual acuity, curiosity, and different perceptions of the world. Books and art together should add to the reciprocal effectiveness of each." Bill went a step further in adding to the elegance of the library's interior design. He selected handcrafted Thomas Moser cherry and maple winter-style chairs that we're sitting in today. To bring what he called a Quakerly aesthetic to the study areas throughout the library. A fine woodworker himself, Bill carved the massive Elmwood family love seat that now finds its home in the entrance hall of the library. And he crafted beautiful cabinetry for the 19th century log cabin that he lovingly restored a few miles from campus. This is one of my favorite pictures of Bill with his woodworking tools. This is a copy of autobiography he wrote recently. Bill also helped design and build his and Deb's dream home in Maine. He sketched a variety of campus buildings and painted still lifes, examples of which may be seen in the glass display case in the entrance hallway, an exhibit curated by Gwen Erickson and Taylor Allison. After the gallery opened, Bill continued to seek gifts of art for the college and was instrumental in the acquisition of the Polish etching and engraving collection from Charles Merrill, the A. Kelly Manus collection of traditional West and Central African art, and a significant sculpture by the renowned Japanese artist Sofu Teshigahara. Post-retirement, he chaired the Art Gallery's endowment fundraising committee, and a gallery on the second floor of the library is named in his and Beverly's honor. For the many ways that Bill's leadership and creative vision impacted Guilford College and our lives, we are profoundly grateful.
Bowling injury. That's the one you have to lean on when you're on the ball. I just have a few things to say about Bill Rogers. And first of all, my name is Adrian Israel, and I hired by Bill to teach history in 1981. And really, I was debating whether to start with this. I think I should. But when he came, when he took me around campus on my third day here in a marathon interview process. On the very third day, we were walking along Friendly Avenue, and I said, "Well, Bill, how many black students are at this college?" And he said 3. He said 3. I think he said 3%. And he said, "Next year we're expecting 5. Well, I heard 3 students and really, my knees literally buckled. I really fell out there on the Friendly Avenue. I kind of held myself up, right? Because not only had he told me that I was the first black woman that would be hired on the faculty, but I was the first black faculty member to be on tenure track because the other 2 had come in with tenure. Well, when he called me and offered me the job, I turned him down. I said, "No, thank you," because I said, "I've done this proposal for University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where I was working in a temporary position, and it had been funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities, and it was for Black History Month, and I wanted to be there to see it through, to make sure everything was done well and properly in order." So there was a long silence on the other end, and he said, "Well, I'll hold the job for you until January. So instead of coming in September, you can come in January." So my working class background kicked in. And I said, "Who's going to hold the job for you until January? You better say yes." So I said, "Okay, I'll come." Then in December, in the happiness of Christmas and all the positive feelings we had at Christmas, I said, "No, I'm not going. Why should I lose Baltimore? I love Baltimore." So I called Bill. I said, "Listen, I'm not coming. I'm not taking this job." And he said, "You have to take it. You know, it's a combination of religion and psychology. You signed a contract." That's what he told me. He said, "You signed this contract. It's a legally binding agreement. And you have to come." And so with that, I believed him, actually. And I said, "All right." And I drove on down. I left Baltimore, and it was snowing. It didn't snow yet, it was January. January 13th, my birthday, 1982. And I was driving down the highway, and I broke into tears. I couldn't help it. I said, "Where am I going? I know where I left but where am I going? How could a college not have any black faculty members except two since 1982 now? And only a handful of black students. What kind of place is this? Well, some of my colleagues in Baltimore and Washington told me the Quakers were good people. And I grew up in a town that had been founded by the Quakers. And so I believed that. And on that basis, I came. And Bill made my stay at Guilford so much of a, how can I put it? He cushioned me from so many things. He was so good to me. I didn't want to start because I thought I'd cry, but it's true. He and them were honest people. I knew them to be honest people. That was not a token to Bill. He respected me as a scholar and an intellect, which is not true of all my colleagues or my students. Now, he saw me as a token, was being used by the college, etc., etc., etc. Well, I figured anywhere I worked, I was going to be used, because that's what work is about. So that didn't bother me. And what made it work for me was Bill's support. First, he started with telling me about Kenya. He'd spent a good bit of time in Kenya with the Quakers in Kenya. And he emphasized to all of us that the largest concentration of Quakers in the world were Kenyans. That the Kenyans actually had integrated Guilford College, because when they came here for a general meeting, I believe it's called, international meeting, they asked the leaders of the college, where were the black students? And they said they didn't have any. So they insisted that Guilford integrate. So the first black students at Guilford were Kenyans. And then after that, Bill continued to recruit Kenyan students to come to Guilford. And he made a big difference, I believe, in the climate of the college by doing that. He supported my teaching of African history. He made it clear to me that that was a personal commitment of his. He wanted to see it happen and grow. And he also got us to teach Japanese. And so the Japanese language, the Asian and African studies programs, Bill was a staunch defender and supporter, and I appreciate that. And then there was an occasion, I think Bernie remembers this, I hope, where we had an incident on campus that Brian called. Now, Brian was known for incidents. I shouldn't say drunken brawls, but this one was. And in the melee, one of the white students had taken a gun, an actual rifle, and broken out the windshield of one of the black students, and police were called. Remember that? All right, the police came on campus. So it was kind of a scandal. It was in the newspaper. And to mediate this problem, to try and get a resolution peacefully, all the people were kind of called together who were involved. I think Bernie was the mediator, Bernie Davis. And I came in the back way. I hadn't really intended to come, but I came in the back way, came up the back steps, so to speak. And who was back in the back but Bill? And he was sitting there. He was the president, but he had asked Bernie to mediate. And his very presence, what I'm saying is his presence, he didn't have to say anything. Just his being there, his quiet, calming influence, I think helped us to resolve that in a positive way. We didn't have any more of these kind of incidents on campus. We didn't have these open racial conflicts. And I really appreciate that about him. And the final thing I'm going to say, I mean this, and I'm not going to pass it. He said, I'm only going to be before you for a few minutes before all of his 1-hour sermons. Not to say anything about our pastor. I call Matt our pastor. Anyway, I was going to say that Bill was, he supported me personally. We had a fundraising event, several in our church, because we were building a new church with very few members. And we were all asked to raise a significant amount of money. So I had made a pledge, but I really didn't have the money, because even though Bill liked me, he didn't give me any raises. I mean, 20 years I was in the vacuum. relative poverty. Finally, I became the vice president of academic dean. So I had 13 years of prosperity. Therefore, I was able to come out of that situation. But nevertheless, I didn't have money. So I brought my violin to Bill. And I asked him, he lived in Racksville, I asked him if he would take my violin as like a pawn, or down payment, or security. And if he would loan me $100, I could meet my goal at church. And I remember him looking at me with that twinkle, you know, when he would look at you and just laughing at you or laughing with you and say, oh, you don't have to do that. I said, oh, no. I'm not asking you to give me anything. I just want you to help me with this fundraising. You take my violin, I couldn't play anything. I still have it. You know, it was a valuable instrument. And I used to play. And so he did. And he loaned me the money. And when he retired, I retired in 2019. And so I invited him and Bev over for lunch, because I wanted to thank them for their friendship and support. And they came. And I remember Bill remembered that incident. And we had a laugh about it. But I respected him, he respected me, I respected and loved both he and Bev. And I just hope that, you know, one thing I like about you is that what you see is what you get. Me being a Midwesterner from Massillon, Ohio, that's one of my core values. And I thank you for sharing your life with me.
Good afternoon. I'm Elwood Parker. Ellen and I have been hanging around Guilford College since 1960. In lots of roles. Most of mine have been in teaching mathematics. Since I was on the search committee, I get to claim credit for finding Bill and Bev Rogers. There's a story there with a very happy ending. It's part of the reason we're here today. But I want to start today by recalling part of what Bill said in the speech he made when he accepted the Guilford presidency. He talked about Guilford being a candle hidden under a basket and the need to get rid of that basket. Now, he had much more West End than I just did. But that is what kicked off Bill as president of Guilford College. And they did start to remove that basket. They became so fully involved in civic, educational, artistic, you name it, locally, regionally, that I would go play tennis with somebody I've never met before, and one of the things I do, I just met your president. That made a lot of difference to what happened during the time that Bill and Bev were here on campus. And that doesn't even mention what was done with Guilford alumni and with Quaker contacts, which Max has told you a great deal about. Early in Bill's tenure as president, I was volunteer national chairman of the Walter Fund, which was Guilford's annual unrestricted giving campaign. We did several other funds in those couple of years, and Bill and Bev were always there. They seem to be everywhere. After the very first fund, Bill stopped me as they were leaving and said, Elwood, next time can I have some prospective donors who were not just consistent donors in the past, and particularly younger ones, because what we've been doing is giving them what we call our high profile donors. High profile meant probable money. That had two impacts, I think. One, that's long-term thinking, not short-term thinking. Not short-term success, but what's going to happen further into the future. and also told me how broad Bill's interest in what was going on at Guilford was, not just in that level that his position was, but in what he was doing. Also, early on, I had an opportunity to work with a group considering wage violation Quakers, which led to what Max is also well alive. Much happened on campus as well. So, two examples that I was involved in because Bill asked me to convene a group where an ad hoc group to look at Guilford athletic programs. That led to Guilford moving from NAIA classification to NCAA Division III, which I think now history tells us was the right move to make for sure. He also asked me to convene a group to plan and start planning and enlarging the computer operation on campus. You gotta realize how long ago this was. Well, it seems like it, but it's not really. But in those asks to convene a group, there was two key words asked and convened. Bill, when he asked, never suggested any personal preferred background. That's the next part. He always sought ways to include faculty, staff, and students who could supply expertise and wisdom to the efforts that we were undergoing in those groups. That's the convenient part. When I meet with Bill about what was happening in those efforts, I asked just once, because I got the answer very clearly, what he wanted to happen in those. He was clear. What he wanted was to develop a consensus of like what the college should do. One that he was comfortable with and could support now. That was a search for direction in absence of any administrative dictation. And that helped, I think, establish a very important tone for what happened during Bill's career. But halfway through, not quite halfway through Bill's presidential tenure, I got asked to buy him a game. Haven't quite figured out why I got asked so much to. He asked me to direct a quest. I got that word right for the first time in a long time. Campaign. It was in the campaign that I really got to know and appreciate Bill and Bill. Two campaign stories. 7:30 one Monday morning, I'm in Bill's office. He's getting ready to go make a very important gift, approach for a gift for college, a six-figure gift. And Kyle is 7 figures, not 6. And that was very important to the campaign. And we had done a lot of work to try to decide what to do. And Bill left like 1 day, in very quick study now always. And I went up to my office. 30 minutes later, he was back standing before the door of my office. I said, what happened? He said, I didn't get a chance to say anything. I said, but we got the gift. Now, the rest of that conversation, I don't know the details of, but it seemed like there were two things going on. First, Bill was a little disappointed that he didn't get to make his pitch. Which he was very good at. And the second thing was that he was there to apologize to me and my staff, campaign staff, that we had done all this work to prepare for this, and he didn't get to use it. That's the first story. Second story. December 30th and 31st of all the years of the campaign, we staffed the office from really early in the morning until late in the evening. You could take a minute and know why. And on December 30th, it was after working hours, it was early evening. A call came into my office from someone who said he was interested in maybe making a gift to Guilford College. He heard about the campaign and he needed to do it before the end of the year. I recognize the name, although we've done no work whatsoever to try to prepare for this one. It was on our first secondary list. We thought it was breach to try to get that far to people in that group. But I knew it needed what it did. I transferred the call to Bill. Bill was there. And then I ran down the steps and went to the door and waved at it like, we don't know anything. We don't know a whole lot here. And he waved and he says, and so I sat down and I listened to his side of the conversation, which lasted 30, 40 minutes. End result, another very nice gift, the kind of level we needed at the time. What that told me was those two examples, that Bill could adapt to unexpected situations. He was absolutely superb at listening, and he could pick up nuances that reflected or redirected conversations, but kept the purpose of the calls we were making front and center. I saw that over and over and over. He also knew when and how to bring whoever accompanied him on a call into the conversation. I never felt left out, even when I sometimes wished I had been. Often what campaign staffs do is to script the people who are going to make their pitches. We learned very quickly that we didn't need to script them. I know that he wants us to. In his presentation, he was going to come up with a way, a fresh way, to present Guilford to his audience. Sometimes, and very often, I guess, originate an approach as we went to an event. That drove Jim crazy. Know that was going on. I don't think I ever heard the same speech twice. Now, we did suggest that he not overuse his main story with accent. And he listened. What added to my experience was what Bill and I did when there was time between calls when we were traveling. As Roy said, those times when you have 3 hours on the road, plenty of time to talk, when one of the other us was not sleeping, we had lots and lots of very nice conversations. There were two notable non-campaign stops. One was the art museums. And I got a real nice education through Bill and things that I didn't learn in art appreciation course I took at Guilford. The other one, and this one I don't quite understand, but that's sometime I want to tell me. We went to toy stores. I've been at FAO Sports in New York 3 times, all over Bill. And he found one in Chicago, but that's yes, on those times when we were traveling, we did debrief the results of calls. But we also talked about teaching. It was very clear to me that Bill missed teaching. We talked about academics, and we talked about aspirations for Guilford. I wish that I could say that I heard from Bill in those conversations a clear plan that he had for the college. But what he seemed to want for Guilford evolved as our circumstances here on campus changed. That is, he didn't come in with a set plan that he wanted to accomplish. He found out about what we were and how we operated and what went on. And as situations changed, he changed with them. Personally, what Bill did for me was offer me opportunities to do more than just teach mathematics. And while I was doing those other things, demonstrate how to do more than just be analytical. In particular, how to deal with people. He was more particular, as already been said, how to listen to people. What Bill Rogers did for Guilford was not only lead the college and continue in new directions, but even more so with Bill, set a tone, both internally and externally, for dealing with to the off-campus world, as well as the on-campus, as to how to deal with whatever arose, how to meet those challenges and opportunities at Guilford. had. I want to indulge my time to tell my favorite story about campaign travels. And it's really not my story, it's not my Bill. But when we went to New York, Bill had retained his membership in the Harbor Club, so that's where we stayed. Which somebody that grew up around here is pretty, well, I won't try to characterize it. But on one of those trips, Bill and Ellen were with us, and we got up in the morning and ate breakfast, and then Bill and I took off to make whatever calls we were going to make that day. And later, Ellen and Bill came out, and they were going to go get us some theater tickets for the night. And as they went through the lobby of the Harbor Club there, the concierge stopped Bill and suggested that she was inappropriately dressed for being in the lobby of the Harbor Club. Now, the thing I like, and the reason it's my favorite story, is that I don't know what Bill's reaction was. But and Ellen will tell me either. I've seen that all these years. But I get to imagine what it was. And I'd like for all of us to imagine what Guilford College is now because of what Bill and Bev did those years that they were here, and where the college also might imagine where it might be if they had not been here for that period of time. Thank you.
Yeah, it happens. I'm Robert G. Williams, and I was attracted to Guilford College in 1978, 2 years before the search committee for the president, the new president came along. And I was too young to be on the search committee. They got people like Elwood on there. But whoever else was on that team, that whole committee, needs to get an A+ for finding the best leader for enhancing a very positive trajectory that was already here at Guilford College before he came. He came along and he enhanced it. And there was a lot of great continuity within the upper level administration over that time, and Bill came in and enhanced it. So I wasn't on the search committee and don't know about the magic that they applied to lure him here. But I was in economics, and so I was asked to be on committees and councils and such that would have budgetary implications. And so I was on the administrative council, which made decisions about programs and so forth, just as a faculty representative before Bill came. And then afterwards, when Bill came, on the administrative council and then budget committees and so forth and so on. And what I noticed was a very interesting change in the dynamics about how decisions were made about which new programs to allow and so on. And so before Bill arrived, a new program idea would come up, and Jim Newland, who was the financial manager, knew the budget and finances Guilford backwards and forwards. If it was going to cost anymore, he would start questioning it. And then Bruce Stewart, if it was a really good idea, Bruce Stewart would figure out how to broker with different groups on campus and, use resources that we already had to do the new program, and it would reduce the others. And so there were things that were happening that were wonderful. But when Bill came on board, we'd be in a similar meeting, and an idea would come up, and when the idea of cost of it would look like it would cost something, Jim Newland wouldn't say very much. He would start kind of shaking his head, and his eye would go like this. He wasn't trying to intervene in the conversation, but you could tell that it wasn't going to make it through. But if the idea was a good one, all of a sudden, Bill's face just light up, and he would be absorbing. And think about this, and the kinds of programs and ideas that would brighten him up would be anything that had a striking aesthetic dimension to it. And an example was the incredible art of the Weller collection, the Julian collection, and building this building so it would be accessible to students. The art would be accessible. Ideas like that, he would brighten up on, and other types of ideas that I noticed that he would brighten up on would be if the idea called for collaborating between two different disciplines to solve a complex problem. That kind of idea, he would think it, Jim might be doing because of the cost. But what Bill would do is he would say something like, well, I don't think we can make a decision on that right now. I think we need to reflect on this and maybe come back later. Now, what was going on in his mind was how can we get Elwood to find the people who might be interested in this idea, and how can he make a pitch to get some more funding to come in. And then they would think about, and then they would bring Bruce Stewart in to do the rejuggling that would be necessary, and then Jim Newland would come in and get on board and make the nuts and bolts happen. And so under Bill Rogers' stewardship here at Guilford College, some amazing teaching assets were added to the portfolio here without overburdening the balance sheet with debt. And we heard from Elwood how that happened on the fundraising trail. And I would just like to bring up one of those jewel acquisitions, teaching assets, that I benefited personally the most from, and that was the acquisition of a sailing yacht. A sailboat. And Bill Rogers was invited down to the Caribbean to a business associate invited him down to sail a charter trip, and Bill knew about sailboats very well, and he gets down there, and this is no ordinary sailboat that he was enjoying the Caribbean on. The name of the sailboat was Photon. Okay. And Photon was designed by William Mack. Blackworth? Yes, a naval engineer out of Newport Beach, California, and he made a naval architect, and he designed Photon to compete in a 4,000-mile yacht race between Los Angeles and Tahiti in open waters. And so this boat, to take the pounding of those kinds of seas, it was a metal, aluminum hull boat. It had a 7-foot key so that if a wave hit it, not like this, it would come back, right itself and not have a knockdown. It had a 65-foot mast, and it had a lot of sail. And the name fits it. Photon, speed of light. And Bill loved this boat. And he asked Dan McGee, who was captain of the boat, and Deb Dunn was the first mate down there. And some of you know that. She's now my wife. But at any rate, so I have a personal interest in this. Asked Ben McGee about what's this about the boat, and he said, well, it's owned by some doctors in Boca Raton, a group of doctors, and they are looking for a nonprofit organization to donate the boat to, and then they can get a tax write-off on it. And Bill says, I know of a nonprofit organization. And he comes back, and pretty soon Dan McGee gets an invitation to come up to Guilford College, and he meets with Bill Rogers, Bruce Stewart, and Jim Newell. And he goes back to the Virgin Islands, and Deb Dunn is so excited because she has just gotten her captain's license. She was one of the first women down there to break through the glass ceiling and got her captain's license. Dan, I got my captain's license. And Dan says, hey, we're going to get our college education. and so the deal was amazing how this was all worked out. And so Dan and Deb got their way paid through college. They had a place to live over here down in the woods in that little brick mother-in-law cottage across from David Parsons down in the woods. And a free place to stay while they were taking courses here. And then on the weekends, they would go down to Beaufort, where Bill had arranged somehow for Photon to be docked at Duke Marine Lab down in Beaufort Harbor. And so, anyway, they would go down there on the weekends and take student trips on Photon. And so there were some eyebrows raised here about, well, Quaker simplicity and a luxury yacht, those don't go together. And I was sort of in that camp, persuaded by that, because I'd only been on little sailboats for lakes in Alabama, and I didn't know anything about what it was to move a big sailboat like that. And I had this image of, yachts and people being pampered and waited on. Well, the student groups and faculty who went down there were abused with that notion of being pampered and so forth because they had just been enlisted in the crew. And so they had to swab the decks and clean the galleys, but they also learned navigation. They learned how to harness the power of the wind. They would Biology, exactly. And Dan was a biology major, and if it was a biology group going down there, they might say, where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? Let's go out to Shackelford Island and take some marine samples. Well, how do we get to Shackelford Island? And there's the chart, and they would have to figure out how we get there. They would run navigation. Everybody had a role, they divided up in teams. Everybody had to work together to get to the common goal. And I think Rex Attleborough has to win the prize. Did I see Pat? Here, Pat. Yeah. Rex has to win the prize for the trips in the physics department. Rex would have him go down to the Cape Lookout and set up a telescope out there. But on one year, the boat and son was down in the Virgin Islands, and Rex organized it so physics majors went down where there wasn't any light pollution down there, and they could see Halley's Comet. Is that true? Halley's Comet, that's what I heard. Yes, all right. So what Bill had done, he had a vision, he knew about sailboats, and so he turned what was considered a luxury asset into this incredible teaching asset. And so over his tenure, that portfolio of teaching assets grew, and he was able to pitch these ideas to potential donors. And so we could do more things that were extravagant. So more ideas made it through the budgeting process. And we've all benefited from that, we still benefit from it. But it wasn't all smooth sailing during those years because the forces of war were building up, especially in Central America. And there were uprisings beginning in 1979 and 1980 before Bill got here, and then Reagan comes in 1981. And Reagan is putting all sorts of funding into the most brutal forces of oppression in Central America. And there were scholars here and people who knew that lived in Central America here on campus. And I had studied Central America. And so I devoted my research to understanding the roots of the uprisings down there to counter the theme of Ronald Reagan, which is the Soviet Union manipulating 40 million people, and it'll be a domino effect if we don't stop it. It'll go to Mexico and then over the border and it'll take Texas. That line, and we were getting information, and there was this whole network going on here, and everything was fine. I was being asked to go around and give presentations at Duke and Chapel Hill and outstate, and then all over the country. Everything was fine so long as I stayed involved just in the scholarship way. But more people that we knew were getting hit down there, and they were saying, do something about this, stop the intervention. And so a group of us in Welsh was involved in this, Henry Atkins, UNCG, and a bunch of other people came together and we formed an action group to stop the intervention in Central America. And included in that group, Sigmund Waller was one of them. She was great, very responsible person in that group. She was in the CWP, Communist Workers' Party. And that Friday, when we first met as a group, we had a great meeting, and we were going to get going. And that weekend, I knew I was in the crosshairs. My phone was being tapped. And it wasn't being done by a good job. It was like some ancient technology was being used. I I was talking on the telephone, and then all of a sudden, this filled up with a drop in the hat. It was a bad job, but I said, whoa. Bill Rogers is going to get some flack from this. Okay? And I got in touch with Bill, so Bill, I talked to him. He worked for me in on Monday, between all these busy meetings, so forth and so on. I don't think it took 5 minutes. I could explain it. He was listening. He was listening deep. I told him what the situation was, what was going on. He thanked me for giving him a heads up. He said, quiet. I've got you back. I don't know any other Central American scholar, all my colleagues all over the country, who had that kind of backing, that kind of support from their presidents of their colleges. And this had a big payoff for the students at Guilford College, because we were having scholars come in from all over, and we would tag in, and wouldn't have to pay the transportation, because Chapel Hill would do it. And then we'd, come pick you up, come talk at Guilford College. And so it was really enriching classes, and we would have it over at New York Friends, which was fantastic. Some great meetings there of people who were updated on what's going on in Central America. But one of the biggest payoffs was I had been up in New York, and I had met at a colleague of mine, anthropologist friend's mother's house. It was a safe house. And there was a Maya Indian woman who came to the door, and I started talking. I thought she was the servant, who had been imported from Guatemala. And she started telling me the story about her family and how her bills massacred, what had happened to her father and her mother and her little brother at the hands of the Guatemalan military. And so I came back and I was telling Better Passers about this, and she said, and she's going to have her testimony published in English. When's the book coming out? I said, I think this fall. This said, we'll have the freshman year experience. Everybody read the book, and Robert's going to get it. And so we were able to get Rigoberto Menchú here at Guilford College, and we had everybody who could speak Spanish. We could help with translation and students and meeting with her in small groups, and she gave a tremendous presentation in Sternberg with all the freshmen from other countries packed, and it's translated from Spanish by Maritza Almeida. And at any rate, Rigoberta went on, and yes, and this was her book, I Rigoberta Menchú. And in 1992, Rigoberta was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. The stewardship of Bill Rogers created in this community the right to breathe during that period. And things like that happened. Aesthetics, peace, justice, all sorts of programs, some of which we still do. Anyway.
I'm Richard Wagenhoft. I was to be in the psychology department from the fall of 1974 until the spring of 2020, so 45 years. And during that time, I worked under 5 college presidents, and I knew one of the interim presidents pretty well. I never got to know the other interim president, but I observed her from afar. I observed her from afar in dismay, but that's a very different story than the one I'm going to tell today. I think I have a pretty good take on what the strengths of these various presidents have been, and maybe a pretty good take on what their limitations or weaknesses have been. In thinking about the talk today, it was easy to identify Bill's strengths because he had so many of them. I want to focus on 4 of them, but because I'm going last, there'll be some overlap, but I might have a slightly different slant on some of these strengths. The first was accessibility. Bill, as many people have said today, cared about people, whether you were a faculty member, a groundskeeper, member of the housekeeping staff. He tuned into you as a real person and as a valued member of the community, as Bernie and others have said. He listened to you because I believe he liked people. He cared about people. He valued people. So even when I disagreed with him, which at times I did, I knew he valued my opinion. He valued me as a person. He wanted to hear what I had to say. It seemed to me that after Bill's time, there were increased layers of administration between faculty members and the president's office, and certainly between faculty members and the board. Now that may just be, part of the corporatization of higher education that's taking place everywhere. So whether it was just Bill or the Times, the place didn't seem to be as vertically structured as it subsequently became, and I think that had a lot to do with who Bill was as a person. Number 2, he enlivened the arts. Roy and Terry obviously have much more to say and know much more about Bill's contributions to the art department, to the art gallery. My take is the view from the psychology department. Though I will say, as some of you know, my wife, Lisa, taught in the art department for 24 years, and unlike Clarence Thomas and Jenny Thomas, Lisa and I talked about our various work and our values. So I knew what was going on in the art department. But here's my take from afar. It wasn't just that we got gallery space in the library and founders. And it wasn't just that Bill liked to draw and was good at it, and liked to sing and liked to sculpt. And one more thing, one of my favorite memories was Bill and Bev taking me and Lisa to this cabin that they were restoring, which in itself was a work of art. So the real implication, it seems to me, of Bill's support and his own artistic endeavors was that a liberal arts education should be broad, not narrow, not just interdisciplinary, but quite broad at a time when students were being pressured to focus. Athletes were being pressured to pick one sport, not many, to pick offense or defense. Students were being encouraged, often pressured by their families, understandably, I'm sure, to pick a major that was going to earn a lot of money. But Bill's approach to the arts
And the way he lived his life really provided, I think, an important message about the meaning and the value of a liberal arts education. Okay, number 3. Let me preface number 3 by saying that the sports statisticians, these gurus who are now called sabermetricians, have applied their analytic skills to lots of sports, especially baseball, but also basketball. Recently, I saw a little study which demonstrated that basketball teams do better if the head coach and the assistant coaches are dissimilar in that they complement one another in terms of skills. And so here, we're going to talk a little bit about hiring. We've alluded to hiring Terry, hiring Robert, hiring others. But in the sports context, so a basketball coach might be good at X's and O's, and he may choose an assistant, he or she may choose an assistant who is really good at the relationships with players, and another one who's really good at recruiting. One of Bill's strengths, I believe, was that he chose senior administrators well. And we used to call them senior administrators. Now they're not cabinets or leadership teams, and they have chief of staff. But I digress. To quote Tom Lamb, I digress. The senior administrators that Bill chose were often very different than he was. Sam Schumann could not have been more different than Bill. But Bill chose good people and he nurtured them well. I think Ken Schwab's comments spoke to that nurturing quality. And so, again, as I look back over 45 years and think about Bill's longevity and success as a president, I think a lot of it had to do with choosing good people to work with. And I'll note that in choosing well, Bill used his own good judgment and he made some difficult choices. But he also listened to the guidance that he received from those in the community, including faculty. I chaired some memorable search committees, one of which, whenever I refer to it, I think of the Bob Dylan album, Blood on the Tracks. And Bill didn't have to take our recommendations, but he did. And that was partly, I'd say, because he saw the faculty and the committees that reported to him as collaborators, not as opponents. So then finally, my fourth and final strength that I'm going to get at, and number 3, by the way, is hiring well and nurturing, if you're keeping track. Or losing track as well. Been a long afternoon here. The fourth strength that I want to identify is that Bill, like other good college presidents, never lost sight of the fact that teaching, broadly understood, is at the heart of why colleges exist. Some semesters Bill taught classes, as did other administrators, especially Adrian and Sam Schumann and a number of others. I know that presidents are under all kinds of pressures, especially to raise money. It often requires a lot of traveling. And they're pulled in many directions by the many constituencies that they serve. And I'm not saying that presidents have to teach, but the fact that Bill did teach, and more importantly, the fact that he valued teaching and was willing, and perhaps at times eager, to spend time in the classroom, meant that he was more likely to be aware of what college teaching was at the time, as opposed to what college teaching had been like at Harvard or at Howard or at Columbia or places we used to be. It gave a certain sensitivity to teaching as central, and again, For all the emphasis that colleges now have on sports and dining facilities, and in some places having a concierge, keeping the academic experience central is, I believe, still crucially important and something that Bill, as well-rounded as he was, as artistic as he was, always valued teaching and saw teaching as central to the mission of the college. So those are my four things. Thanks. I get to go last because of my surname starting with Z. I think we're now headed toward the break. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, everyone. What an amazing life. What amazing lives. You know, the one thing that everybody left out, though, was Bill's love for motorcycles. So, every time Bill and I got together, that was how we started. He wanted to know how my Triumph was doing. And then he'd tell me stories about he and Bev riding around campus. Bev in the sidecar and Bill rolling around. I think my dog would like that too. I'm going to read a kind of a closing short benediction here from Mel and Beth Kaiser, and then Beth, I think you wanted to say, did you want to say something? Okay, I'll give you the signal. So from Mel and Beth. Bill, you were a presence in the land, attentive to students, staff, faculty, and the wider community. We remember our efforts with Helen Hall, meeting you over the phone, seeking to persuade you to be considered for Guilford's president. So glad you came. What a time it was. You had a zest for the job, enhancing the Quaker academic community, strengthening the college's financial base, supporting faculty initiatives, traveling with Ed Lowe's concert choir tours, doing fine woodwork, telling name jokes, driving around town in your ancient British Rolls Royce with your black poodle sitting upright in what in America would be the driver's seat. Modeling, caring teamwork with Bev, and being a friend. We mourn your departure. We celebrate your accomplishments. We are grateful for your creative and exuberant presence in our lives and your ardent stewardship of our beloved Guilford. Bill, we are deeply moved and grateful for the joyful poise of your life. With love and appreciation, Mel and Beth Kaiser, and all of us.
To hear all the stories and all these things, it's hard to even
We're going to take a little break. It's 3:18. If we could gather back in about 7 minutes or 3:25, we'll enter into a time of open worship and into a time for meeting for worship, and then we will close that time with some remarks from President Kyle. We made it back. We're going to enter into a time of worship, but we are going to change our schedule a little bit. So I'd like to welcome up President Kyle Farnbury, Guilford's 10th president, to share some remarks.
Good afternoon. I want to first express my thanks to the Rogers family for being here today, to Bev, Susan, Bill, and Nancy, and William, and Gavin for being here with us, and of course all of the Guilfordians who assembled for this very, very special occasion. We're happy to have dedicated time to celebrate the Guilford legacy of Bill Rogers, the sixth president of the college. I've had conversations with a few of the other presidents. I understand that we call ourselves members on occasion, so over 6 and 10. And Bill, everything you heard today, a tremendous colleague and mentor and friend to so many people. Several months ago, I walked into my office over in Founders Hall, and I found on the table in my office a spiral-bound book. And a note from Bev. And this book was the memoir that Bill and Bev had put together and had so thoughtfully organized around different chapters of Bill's life. And needless to say, I was drawn to the pages of the chapters dedicated to his decision to leave a professorship at Harvard for Guilford, the 16 years that he spent as president, and as an active member of the Greensboro community, followed by his retirement. It really is a wonderful story. Unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to meet Bill, and I very much wish that I had. Because in reading his memoir, I learned about overlapping elements of our lives. Bill's mother was born in Germantown, the neighborhood of Philadelphia in which I grew up. He references growing up on McCallum Street, which is literally right around the corner from where my parents presently live. Bill's college years were spent in Kalamazoo in western Michigan, less than a 40-minute drive from where I started my career in Grand Rapids. And of course, we had the tremendous fortune of landing in Guilford. As a new president, one spends a great deal of time looking for wisdom from the words and deeds of those who served in the workforce. And I'm very much struck by the value Bill placed on friendships in his life. On the last page of the book that I mentioned, there's a notation of those here at Guilford who were very dear to him, and I see several of the people that were moved here in Sullivan's. There are references to Paul Zoll and Cyril Harvey and Jim Newland and to many, many others. I think had I gotten to know Bill, he would become a good friend and even a better mentor and an even better advisor. And there's part of me that's very envious of those who had the benefit of having him in their lives. Over the past year, since I accepted the job as the 10th president of Guilford, I've been actively listening and learning from the words of Bill and learning from the community and others like me who knew of his legacy. And here's what I've heard or read about Bill Rogers, and in many cases Bev. He knew my name and my story when I was a student and long after graduation. When I was a student, he invited me into the president's home, Ragsdale, and that's where we had some awesome conversations. And as an aside, I think that both Bill and Bev would have had a great time this past Halloween. We had about 60 students over to Ragsdale, all in costume, that dressed up, and we just had a magnificent evening. They, as a college couple, were present and visible at a wide range of college activities, even after he was president. Bill listened, he cared, and he embodied Quaker values. he was a wonderful ambassador for Guilford College. If as president, I'm able to follow Bill's example, I believe I'll enjoy the job even more, and I will achieve a measure of success for the college I think Bill will be very proud of. And that's an aspiration, and it's been reinforced by so much of what I heard earlier. I've been deeply inspired by the reflections of those who knew Bill best, his colleagues, his friends, his family. And I'd like to take a moment to present these flowers to Bev as an expression of our love and support for you and your family. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. After this memorial, please join me over at, the script says my home, but I'm going to say our home, over in Ragsdale, for more time to fellowship together and to share lots of memories. So thank you for being here, everyone.
Where's Lexi at? I'd like to welcome Lexi McGraw, class of 24, to the stage. Lexi is a music major with a focus on classical guitar from the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. She is currently interested in pursuing luthier work or teaching after Guilford, likely specializing in classical guitar. Friends, I'd like to invite us into a time of open worship, shared silence. We're invited to center down and to listen for God's voice in our midst. One is led to do so. You may stand and share a brief memory or message of love and hope. Please allow for some silence between speakers so that everyone has a chance to take to heart what has been spoken. We'll take about 20 minutes, and then after we close, if Lex is still here, we'll have a play another song.
His presence, his place. I feel his presence on this campus, and I feel his love in this room. All of you are such special parts of my dad's life and played such an important role in his legacy. And I love hearing Max talk about his concerns for his legacy, because he had those conversations with me. And I said, my gosh, I see your legacy. And everything I look at on this campus and in this community, I feel your legacy in my heart with the way you raised all of us. And I feel your legacy in these friendships and these people that I see in this room today. So I know that even though he's not in this worldly presence anymore, all I have to do is look at you. And I'm so grateful that you have a world where people care about who's preserving things that you cared so much about protecting, but also that you were touched by that side of you that nurtured possibility, nurtured things to come, nurtured things that are going to be a part of our future. And that you could be a part of this legacy that now I see is being carried on by Pop. And that makes me extremely happy if I've had a chance to meet him and feel his humility and understand that he understands that legacy and wants to make good on a place that is inclusive, welcoming, a family that nurtures just the liberal arts and the experience that I think my dad brings to my career. And I appreciate so much all you do this for us as a family. Because it means so very much, you know, that we have people to talk
I just wanted to make a note to say because I feel like this legacy very strong because this week here, and words with him, and also just not only did he hire, but he was but he also visited our wedding in 1996, shortly after his retirement. And I just remember how he counseled us for our wedding, and also a treasure. The wedding certificate, so we have a little bit of his art, we've got his art in our house, because they made our wedding certificate, it included being $1,100, and it's beautiful. And just also how he handled, it was a little chaotic for a lot of reasons. I won't go into here, have a great friend out there, come on, walked out and came home. And I just remember that no matter what chaos happened, either before or during the ceremony, how he handled it. And I treasure that, I appreciate that. But how can you that? As the season moves now towards Christmas, always a reminder of the Christmas pageant at Rome. I still remember, and walking in here, made so much more coming down the aisle and greeting people, smiles, interaction, such a sense of community. It was a wonderful time.
It has been so uplifting to hear be reminded of, I was going to make it better, of Bill's leadership here at Guilford and his vision for what Guilford College could be. But he also understood the need for a broader presence and the collaboration among all colleges and universities. He served as chair of our colleges and universities and really helped lead the way both for state support and federal support to help provide the kind of opportunities for students who couldn't afford to come and needed that support. So he will always be special in my heart. Not just because he hired me as president of NCAC, where I still am today, but because of the very deep-seated belief in
all students being able to attend the college of their choice. And for many of them, knowing that that was Guilford, but also our other 35 independent colleges and universities across the state. And knowing that we had an important role to play to keep this state moving.
I would like to have a word about legacies. And Bill has left us such a wonderful, multi-talented legacy to this campus and for all of us. But I also think, as I listen to what all of the faculty said about the college, that we are lifting up a collective legacy. We are lifting up a time when Bill was our leader. We were giving ourselves and our lives and our talents. And in a sense, we are handing on our work to the younger college of today. And Bill gave us so much to say.
It's appropriate that is about Bill today. But I wanted to say that what we felt was came back to us many times over. That being here at Guilford College is one of the fulfilling times of our lives. And that both of us felt strong support from all these people that have spoken today and hundreds of others that are not around us, that we knew that we were loved. And it was easy to love you back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, everyone, for gathering today as a community, friends. You are all invited to come over to the Razzit, and we will continue our celebration and adventure there. So, if you need a ride, I know there are golf carts available. That would be helpful for folks. We'll have some golf carts to see one shoot around here right now. So, you would have that. Thank you.